Fallout 76 on Xbox One X. So, yeah, this is a very interesting game to kind of go over. First off, I'll start with the sort of details about the visuals. We're getting a native 4K resolution most of the time. It does drop a bit during heavy sequences. And we're getting HDR support. So yeah, visually, it does actually look pretty good most of the time. I personally like the mix of a more lively environment and a sort of destroyed landscape. And the area is just absolutely massive. So this is the map. This is the biggest world they've ever created. I haven't been everywhere yet. I've traveled a lot of places. I felt I put enough time in to actually properly do this and kind of go over it. You get a bunch of quests on the top right. The bottom left UI is kind of your health, and then the bottom middle is your map. You kind of see icons and know where you're going. And then the bottom right is sort of your indication of your health, your AP points, which are like your stamina. You see it running and it's being used up. And yeah, your lifeline is the Pip-Boy. You got, you know, your stats, your level. They got a full perk system. It's based with cards, so you upgrade your various perk levels, and then you're able to fit cards on there in order to fill up the spots. I think that's pretty cool. It makes a lot of sense. We've got our health and our food are now showing up. Well, our food and our water are now showing up in the bottom right corner. It's a survival game, but we're going to get to that in a sec. So you can see your effects, you can kind of see your specials. You know, you get a bunch of items, weapons, apparel, clothing, all kinds of weird stuff. Apparel and clothing are the same, and there's like mods and ammo. And then you can see your data, the quests you've done. There's like side quests and daily quests and event quests that happen on the map. And then there's a radio, you listen to music, and you can join in on special stuff and whatever. Cool, so that's Pip-Boy. We got like a favorite menu. Favorite things, switch between items really fast. Pretty cool. I just wasted a stim pack. I guess I didn't because I didn't use it. You can hold down and then you can do all kinds of weird emotes to other people, and you can like buy other emotes and stuff. We're going to go over that in a sec. So there's this thing called the Atom Store, and it's got like microtransactions in it. So instead of having like mods, you buy items they produce. You can earn in-game currency to buy those items too, which seems fairly fair for earning them so far. It's just a launch, so there's not a lot of things. But you get like more emotes, clothing, things for your camp, which we're going to get to in a little bit later, and you know, so forth like that. A bunch of different little weird items to kind of pimp out your thing. You can kind of take photos at any time. You can go to a photo mode, and you get a lot of different options for changing stuff, and then you can have a snapshot, everything like that. And it kind of shows up when it's loading. Neat, I guess. I don't know. Whatever your thing is. The menu, top left from the map, and you kind of see the Atom Shop right here, right away, and you can kind of see the different things you can buy. And then there's like challenges you can do for extra points, and those like they give you the atoms, as you can see. That makes sense. And a photo gallery, and you can see a social. See that top right, very easy to kind of get a team together. That's what they're calling groups in this, to get friends, stuff like that. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about the general game in a sec here. I just kind of want to lay out the features that are available in this. First person, third person, combat, and so forth. So yes, Fallout 76, the biggest and emptiest world they've ever created. So I have a lot of problems with this game. It is very much a average game. It is not up to the standards set by the other Fallout titles. It is kind of depressing. It is the loneliest Fallout I've ever played, despite it being a multiplayer game. And yeah, this is a pretty cool little area. But yeah, it's so weird. Like, the more I play it, the more I hate it, but the more I also have mixed feelings towards it. It gets better as you play it because you're not as annoyed by things. But when you start, the game is really frustrating because you're like constantly needing food. You're constantly needing water. They tried to make a survival game out of Fallout. So they basically just took Fallout 4 and they threw survival elements onto it. And they put you in a new place that kind of messed up the lore a lot. And it's just it's a very broken game. I don't know if you've been noticing already, but there's numerous and constant performance issues. I've had tons of disconnects from their apparently dedicated servers. I spent like however long taking over a workshop area, which are these dynamic events, and that's actually where we started, was an area that I took over. See that on the map there? It's my workbench, and it kind of gives me supplies. But I took one over, and it lasts as long as you are on the server. So the server disconnected as soon as I took one, and then I just completely lost all of my progression. And yeah, that was definitely annoying. And it's just kind of annoying dealing with the disconnects and the sort of problems. It's very repetitive. 90% of what you fight are these Scorched Wanderers. You know what? That's not fair. I'll say 80% of what you fight are these things. Another 5% of what you fight are Ghouls. And then rarely you run into other things like creatures you know very well from the Fallout universe. Mole rats and blowflies and stuff like that. And apparently there's a dragon, which I've watched a video of. That's kind of the end game, and it is a reskinned Skyrim dragon. Seriously. And yeah, and then there's super mutants, and some of them work, and some of them stand there without being able to take damage too. And they can't move, and they're glitched, and they're frozen. And then you have enemies phasing through the ground, you have enemies phasing through walls. You've got enemies that are kind of skittish and glitchy, and they get caught on things, and they shoot at you through walls, and they shoot at you through floors, and you don't know where they are, and it's just tedious and tiring. That's what I would really use to describe this game, is it's a very, very tedious experience. So you're trying to like gather supplies in order to do stuff, and then on top of that, you're trying to do missions. So the missions in this game, and I think this is what's the most depressing thing for me. I think this game would have been really fine and really good, because normally, you know, the Bethesda games, they have bugs in them. It's a part of it. It's part of the charm, honestly. I don't mind them too much. I think it's part of the experience to have these bugs, and I'm really just trying to walk around so you guys can kind of see the different kind of how things look in the world. We're gonna jump over to my camp in a sec here, but I want to keep talking about the game. But yeah, it's just, I think that is the part that hurts the most, is the lack of a narrative. Now, you could say the Fallout 4 didn't have the best narrative, but there were so many stories and tales and characters that you could meet along the way that made this, made Fallout 4 such interesting, dynamic, and beautiful game. I absolutely loved it. I spent many hours in it. I wasn't the longest time Fallout fan. My friend, I watched him play a lot of Fallout 3. I played a bit of it. I played some New Vegas. I watched him play a lot of New Vegas. And I really got into it with 4. Because, I thought 4 was a good starting point. It's this generation. And modding came. I really loved the modding. My favorite thing about Fallout 4 was the settlements and the settlement structuring. And that has been changed a lot in this game. And it's, again, that whole tedious thing. Because you're constantly looking for stuff. Because you are just seriously getting harassed by creatures constantly, and they break all your stuff, and then you can leave it on the map, but you gotta pay to like move it other places. We're gonna show that off in a sec, but I want to get back to talking about the story. So there's no story in this. You play basically this guy that's walking around listening to audio tapes. The story is delivered through long, boring audio tapes that don't really tell you anything, and I don't know if they're really that well voiced either. It's just kind of like the whole main quest is like this overseer's journey, or is part of it or whatever, and you're just going to places she's like lived as a child and listening to her talk about, reminisce about these places. It's like, oh, I went to high school here, I had a kid. It's like, who cares? This doesn't matter. Like, what does this have to do with anything? It doesn't. It's pointless. Everything in this is pointless. There's one where you're doing like an exam and you're running through stuff and it's boring. Or you're going and you're killing things. It's like, okay, but what does this matter? What does this do? Because there's no NPCs in the game. Like, there's no human-based ones. Nothing you can interact with, nothing that's talkable, nothing that's really a person. You have robots, and that's really it. There's robots and monsters that you fight. The robots that are kind of friendly are usually just vending machines where they stand around like idiots, or they're glitched. and it's just, I don't get the point of it. It's just this big, empty, lonely world that we're exploring. And while there's so many people, again, I've never felt so lonely in a Fallout game. There's no factions, there's no sense of, like, liveliness to it. It's just a dead world. It looks more alive. The colors are vibrant. It's got, like, a nice style to it that I like artistically. But you can see players, like, here, they're out there. It's so boring, and sometimes when you start out, you'll die a lot, and it's just annoying because you gotta go back and grab all your stuff. And when you're jumping into buildings, like, you gotta wait. Some buildings you have to, like, load into, right? You're getting attacked before you're even loaded into the game, because the AI can attack you, and you can, like, see yourself getting killed. You can hear yourself dying, but you can't do anything. And it's just, I have never destroyed a robot in this. I guess they've all been friendly. Well, we did come across some negative, hostile Projectitrons, but I don't think I killed them personally. That aside, it's just empty. It's so, like, boring. This game would have been really cool if they would have had, like, factions in it that you could, like, become a part of, like, the railroad or something. I know it's not the same area. I'm using it as an example, like Fallout 4 had, where you could be like the railroad, you could be like the free guys, you could be part of the Institute. And it would, maybe you could, like, fight against other people as part of these factions, as I'm giving them an idea for what you should actually do in this. Otherwise, you're just aimlessly walking around, occasionally running into somebody. And the thing is, I always wanted a Fallout game where I could play with my friend. And I played with randoms in this, and it's like, okay, whatever, we don't do anything together, nobody chats. If you do chat, it's like this weird in-game thing, and you just hear idiots yelling and stuff in the background. It's kind of pointless. But yeah, and then I played with my buddy tonight just before this because I wanted to get some actual good co-op time in. And it's cool because, you know, you have your friend and you're going around, but you don't really have anything to do. The quests aren't like missions. You're just wandering around aimlessly, doing nothing with no actual goal to it. It's pointless. It's all very, very pointless. There's, like, I don't understand the context of what we're supposed to be doing. I don't care about the audio logs. I want to actually get like a story told to me, like an actual narrative. This should have been maybe Fallout, the MMORPG. I think they're going for like a shared universe typical to Destiny, but even Destiny has an attempt at a narrative in there, and this one doesn't. I don't know. But they were thinking, I don't think you can call it a story if you walk around listening to tapes. It's just a series of fetch quests. And you'll, like, have to fetch something. I don't know, you'll be sent down here, and then you'll have to go all the way up here to this town. And then you'll have to go all the way down to, like, over here to do something. It's just walking. And you can pay caps to fast travel, I guess. But, I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me. And then you mix that with constant bugs, performance issues. There's tons of visual problems in terms of, like, loading. Textures are really low res at times. Things pop in as you're walking. And then the server disconnects on top of that, which I already mentioned. There's just so many problems. Now, it's not the worst game in the world. I mean, I've played much worse. And this still does have that Fallout charm to it. And it's got a really cool kind of building system. That being said, there's so many problems, it's hard to overlook them. And I don't know, I gotta be honest here and stuff. I sure like going to the Bethesda events that I get invited to, and it's cool to be able to review the game from them, but damn, this is not what I expect when I play this kind of game, and it's not what people expect when they go into a Fallout game. You know? They want something more. They want a story they can care about, or at least a narrative that they can interact with and, you know, do stuff with and feel like they're actually, you know, doing something. I feel as though I'm just wandering, and this is what a lot of the game is. Normally I'd pick a spot and I'd wander to it to kind of check it out. I've been playing a little bit slower than usual. When I play these games to review them, I run through the story as fast as possible because A, I love narrative-driven games, and B, you know, I want to finish it so I can review it. And this game doesn't have any story to run through. I'm just collecting tapes around the world. So I'm like, I'm not just going to do guides for every little spot that I've been visiting. And, you know, doing that, it's been a slower approach for me, just kind of taking the world in and seeing what it has to offer. And I really do love the buildings and the design of the interior, and I love the design of the map. I think it's really well done. There's so many cool landmarks. There's so many cool places to see. There's lots of rich story in terms of like the notes you find and the little tiny jokes and, you know, stuff you can run into. But between that, there's nothing there. It's just empty, wasteful time, and I don't understand what they were thinking with this one. It seems like they just sort of threw it together and thought they'd get microtransactions and make some money off of this. Now, I will say that I think this game has the potential to be really good in about 6 months or so. But right now, it's not at the level that you would expect from a Fallout title, or even a Bethesda title at that. This is probably the most disappointing thing I think they've ever released. And I really do enjoy their games, and I get excited about their games, and I don't know. See, they've got fun interaction things like the banjo, and you play like an acoustic guitar, and you can sit at places, and you can chill with your friends and do silly emotes. But we don't know what the point of this is. I sit here and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Like right now, this is what I do the entire time, but I'll have like a location picked out on the map. We're gonna quickly jump over to my camp so I can show off that aspect of the game. Yep, I'm stuck inside of a car. There we go. That's easy. And, oh, it looks like all my turrets are destroyed and everything like that. Going back to that whole tedious side of things, and they destroyed my trees. They can destroy your well, they're not trees, they're plants, but wow. Okay, well, there used to be lights and stuff in here. That's kind of a little bit depressing. That aside, we kind of get to the tedious element of things. So this being kind of a survival game, everything breaks. So you'll be fighting and your machete will break, so you had to repair it. And you use these kind of machines. And you're gonna break, and you'll be out of food, and you'll be out of water, and you'll be out of this other stuff. And then you'll catch a disease, and then you'll cure the disease, and you'll get another disease, and then you'll eat something, you'll get radiation. And you won't get as much health, and then you get attacked by creatures, and you have to deal with those creatures. Like, look at that. Oh, that's some high resolution. That's what I love to see in a 4K generation of games. I will say that the clouds and the skyline are beautiful. They're very majestic, and they've got some nice stuff to it. See, it's a weird balance in this game. You get Play-Doh-y things like that in the far background, and that far building. And then you get calm, kind of majestic plants, and cool smoke and neat skies and exciting combat where you kind of go around. But then there's points where the combat's like stilted and you've got AI stuck on things and AI shooting you from places they shouldn't be able to shoot you from. And it's just tiring. It really is just tiring to play this. See if I can repair all my structures. And I don't have enough oil. Never have enough oil. So yeah, we're going to go over the building aspect. So you get to your camp, and you have these camps, and you can move the camps, and you can build in the camps, and then you get these tons of items, but a lot of the stuff's locked, and you have to like buy blueprints from places or discover blueprints. It's like they took the fun part of Fallout 4 for me, and they locked it behind having to do random tasks in order to access what you want to build. The cool thing about settlements for me was I could go to a place and I could create a little society of people that could live there. Now you're just camping like a creepy loner in the middle of the forest or here in the middle of the road because I could never find any camping spots that would actually allow me to place it, except for here in the middle of the road. Yeah, that's fun. But there's like a lighting system, and then you can make generators, and you can put lights to like machines, and then you can create like items. And if you build something cool, you'll constantly get attacked by creatures, and even if you put stuff up, the creatures will like come inside the walls somehow and spawn inside the walls, and it doesn't make any sense, but you kind of just go with it. Build barricades and traps and turrets and crafting things and cool doors and staircases to multiple levels. You know, there's a lot of things you can do, and you can collect wood from like logs on the ground, And it's very well done. It's got like a nice snap feature to it. Very easy going. See how easy that was? No problem at all. I kind of like how easy and simplistic that is. And you just gotta like build whatever you'd like. To me, that's a fun thing. I enjoy the building, and other people in the game can come up here, and they can't really, I don't think they can destroy it, as to say, but they're not gonna wreck your stuff, and they can't steal from you. And they can kind of be like, cool. I've had people give me a thumbs up. They liked my little settlement area that I had going before it was trashed and destroyed by these monsters. But you get the point of what I'm saying, right? Is that, you know, this game has a lot of potential to it. And I feel like the area is really small, like the camp area. I feel like the game has a lot of potential, but they didn't. It's like buying an early access game on Steam where it's like, oh, this is cool, but you're missing your content, the majority of the content that makes this interesting. You're giving us like a cool tech demo that's really buggy and broken, and you're wanting to get feedback so you can fix it. So I don't know why they didn't just do this as like the first early access game. Maybe that would have looked bad for the company. I don't know. I think this is not a good mark in Bethesda's history, to be honest. I think this is a bit of a blemish on it. That aside, textures look weird over there. Anyways, I like the building stuff, but I like the settlements better. I like the idea, and I think maybe you should be able to do this with other people. Again, another idea is creating like these fort-type camp areas, and then trading with AI NPCs, because that was really cool. You could trade, you get caps, and you'd have people living in your area, and it felt like a real group of society take buildings that you were making and little structures and stuff, and you actually wanted to defend them. They actually had a purpose. And here it's just this small useless camp where I repair things that are damaged, because everything breaks in this constantly, and it's annoying, and it's really annoying to have them constantly breaking. So yeah, that's Fallout 76. I hate it, but I like some parts of it. I don't think this is up to the standards that the past Fallout titles have set. They may have had their bugs, sure, but this one just fundamentally feels broken the majority of the time. And when it is running, it's kind of fun, but it's pointless because there's no actual story. There's no point to what you're doing. You're just wandering around aimlessly searching buildings for junk to pimp out your camp that no one really cares about. And it doesn't serve any functionality other than being a camp that holds stuff for you to fix things. But yeah, it's just... I have a hard time describing this game, because I think it's really bad. It's like a very... and this isn't like the score I'm giving it, but it's a very 5 out of 10 feeling kind of thing. I'll actually have like a reviewed score in a written review, but it's just like a very meh kind of game that just feels empty. Like, I mean, look at this. It's loading, like popping in. There's a mix of terrible visuals, and I don't know, maybe I'll get stuck if I walk through some of this spot, which I probably will. And there's nothing here. There's no people. It's just this empty, depressing, lonely wasteland that's full of bugs and glitches, quests that don't matter. There's no story here. If you like narratives, I mean, it's non-existent. There's a lot of lore, I guess, but they kind of overrode a lot of the lore from the Fallout series in this one. And I'm not sure fans will like that. I mean, I don't really care, to be honest, with that aspect, but it's something to mention. I think I covered most of the game well. I'd equate it to a Steam Early Access game that I play at launch, do a video about, write about, and then forget about for a year and come back, or maybe a few years later come back and be like, oh, cool, they added some stuff. I don't know. I'm probably going to keep playing it. I'm going to try to enjoy it with my friends as much as I can as they continue to buy the game. I see the potential in it being cool for co-op, but at the same time, it's nothing special. I always wanted a co-op Fallout game, and now that I've got it, I don't think they did it right.